Welcome back. We're out in front of the Jackson Street Senior Citizen Center in West Side, where there's a very important seminar going on right now on the Affordable Care Act, explaining to people how, in fact, they can sign up for insurance, something that we've never had in this country before. And my guest now is from the generation that is going to make the Affordable Care Act work. The young, invincible generation. Young people that feel that they're so healthy they'll never need health care, but in fact, their premium dollars will be available to help the elderly and those that may be using it a little bit more. John Hart, new lawyer in Lackawanna County, congratulations. You passed your bar and were admitted to practice yesterday.
Yes.
And you and I talked about the fact that you've been on the website, you've been looking for insurance.
That's correct.
You're no longer 26 years old or available to be on your parents' insurance.
Right.
And before the Affordable Care Act passed, I think it was while you were still in school or until you were 21 years old that you lost the ability to reside with your parents and have their insurance cover you.
That's right.
But now, you had to go out and find insurance. You had a pre-existing condition, and that would have made it extremely difficult for you for coverage. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, I was shopping around after school to get health insurance, and I was going through different providers around the area on their websites, and I applied to one with Geisinger, and I had a good plan set up. It would have cost me a total, I believe, $127 a month, and I waited for a couple weeks for my application to go through, and I was sent a letter saying that I've been denied from coverage because of a pre-existing condition. So
I'm going to stop you there. Everybody thinks that, in fact, because of the Affordable Care Act, they can't do that anymore. They can if you don't go to the Affordable Care Act for coverage. Am I right?
Yeah. When I was looking for a plan, I was going through private sectors first, and they're still allowed to discriminate against pre-existing conditions. And now I went on the Affordable Care Act's website.
How was your experience on the computer? I know you're one of those young people that is very savvy on a computer. Did you have any difficulty?
Moving around their website, which is, I believe, healthcare.gov, it was new. You could tell the younger crowd had designed it, and it was very accessible. There's still some difficulties in trying to decide which plan to pick because they all seem very, very similar, and there's a lot of terminology that you have to overcome, but that would have been the same for the private sector as well. There's many, I believe 44 plans alone to go through the marketplace of Geisinger, which is under the Affordable Care Act instead of the private sector. And in doing that, they matter of just small numbers that might change and make a difference to the price. I'll end up paying a little bit more, but I'll actually be covered this way. I think I'll end up paying $185 a month to go through the Affordable Care Act.
You know, one of our guests on the show today will be Tom McHugh, one of the navigators. It's been retained to try to help people get through the maze, and there are also going to be some speakers in there that are in the insurance industry. So you may be even able to find a better, cheaper plan with their help. So
yes.
I wish you well.
Thank you very
much. Good luck in your legal career.
Thank you.
And lots of good luck searching for insurance under the Affordable Care Act.
Thanks, and thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you. Back, and my guest now is Ro Hume from Organizing for Action, and she's the person that put this program together, trying to draw some real experts in the healthcare business in northeastern Pennsylvania here to explain all of the benefits of this magnificent program for people that are going to be signing up and getting on the computer. And Ro, tell me a little bit about what Organizing for Action did here to put this together.
Well, Organizing for Action is a non-profit, non-partisan group, and we are dedicated to working on the issues the American people voted for in 2012. And one of the great issues that the American people validated in 2012 was the Affordable Care Act. They had the opportunity to elect a president who was going to repeal it. They chose not to. The Affordable Care Act is now the law. It's now beyond politics. It's now a policy. And it's incumbent on all of us to see that that policy is implemented as smoothly and as widely and as beautifully as it can.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm passionate about health insurance for all Americans. If I had my way, we would have had a single payer option, but I didn't. But the fact of the matter is, I can remember hearing Teddy Kennedy in 1982, before the midterm convention in Philadelphia, with charts and bells and whistles saying, all the way back to Harry Truman, we've been trying to pass health insurance. We're the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't have national health insurance. And we have to get it done. And it took president after president after president. And now I sit back and I say, 45 votes in the House of Representatives to repeal it?
Yeah.
It is so sad that so many of our countrymen don't understand how precious health insurance will be to all Americans.
Well, absolutely. And I think Teddy Kennedy is one of the true heroes of affordable health insurance for Americans. I think Teddy Kennedy's legacy is part of Obama's legacy of the Affordable Care Act. And I think it's great. You can tell I'm not a native. And I come from a country where we have universal single payer health insurance. And we've had it for 45 years and none of us have two heads yet. I agree with you, it's a great system, but it is wonderful that the first steps have been made to make affordable health care available to a lot of Americans who haven't had it before.
You know, Ro, I was about 7 or 8 years ago up in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And I was at a hotel and I was sitting at the bar with two doctors who are neurosurgeons.
Yep.
And I asked them, I said, you must hate this Canadian healthcare system where people with tumors have to wait months and they looked at me and said, are you crazy? We wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
And nobody waits with a serious condition in Canada. There's no problems with our healthcare system. And I mean, the Canadians were demonized for having this terrific system that's working for them.
The thing is, it is that, but systems are specific for the countries. Would I have preferred, like you, a single payer system for America? Yes. But we've got what is a fantastic first step in the Affordable Care Act. Now, has its rollout been perfect? No. That we have to admit. But the thing is, a year from now, no one's going to remember the rollout. There are going to be people a year from now who are not going to go bankrupt because they have breast cancer or a heart attack. They're not going to have their families lose their homes because of a medical condition. And that is something to celebrate.
You know, Ro, in my other life, I'm an attorney that represents people who are hurt on the job.
Yeah.
I have an office of several lawyers, and when people come in and they've been out of work for 3 or 4 months, the first thing that their employer does is cut off their health care, and their family has no health care. I see people that are so desperate and so heartbroken, and I have for 45 years.
Yeah.
And now, the opportunity to say to those people, forget about your pre-existing condition. Get on the computer, get an affordable health care plan for you and your family, and you can afford it. You'll get a subsidy because you're out of work. It will work.
And the nice thing is that not only is it going to benefit the people who get the insurance, which is fantastic. Nobody's going to hit a lifetime limit anymore. No one's going to go bankrupt because of an illness. And families who are already dealing with the incredible stress of a serious illness aren't going to have to deal with financial stress as well. But the great thing is that financially it benefits the country as well. There's this wonderful myth which makes me laugh, that the Affordable Care Act is going to bankrupt America, as if anyone could bankrupt your great country. But the fact is that the Affordable Care Act is going to save $143 billion in its first 10 years. And it looks like that's going to be higher because the costs are coming in lower and healthcare costs are now climbing much more slowly than they've ever climbed in the last 20 years. So it's actually economically a very sound policy.
I employ about 30 people, and my healthcare costs over the last decade and a half have been on a trajectory like this.
Yeah.
It's been so difficult and so hard to keep healthcare for people. But I couldn't live with myself if one of my secretaries or paralegals came down with breast cancer and didn't have health insurance because I was too cheap to pay for it.
That's the socially responsible thing to do, and I applaud you for it.
But the fact of the matter is, with the cost going up the way they were, it would have just about put me out of business.
Yeah.
Now, with a program that will put the brakes on the high rate of costs, it's going to help small businesses. It can't help but to help small businesses.
It can't help but it's going to help the self-employed. The thing is, it's not the myth of the people who want something for nothing. It's the myth of the people who work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Small businessmen, sole traders, construction workers, people like that who aren't part of employer healthcare, who can now afford health insurance and can afford to look after their families, look after themselves. And in the long run, having healthy people, having healthy citizens can only help America's bottom line.
Now, tell me a little bit about what's going on inside so our viewers know, and tell me that if O'Malley and Langen decides to put on a program like this, whether you'll be able to help us get some of the experts that you've brought here so we can continue to educate people about this.
Absolutely, we would be delighted. We would be delighted to help you. Organising for Action isn't involved in direct enrolment of people. There are fabulous organisations out there doing that. There's navigators, there's certified people that help do that. Our job is to help spread the word about what's going on and to basically put people in touch with people who can help them. Today's program came about because we had a chapter meeting and our chapter members said, we keep getting asked stuff about the Affordable Care Act and we don't know the answers. Can you do a Train the Trainers? So talking in there today, we have Cheryl Mason, who is our state healthcare expert for Organising for Action, and she knows everything there is to know about this act and then a bit more. And she is often briefing Senate committees and people like that about the actual facts and details of the Affordable Care Act. She's not, as she says, I talk facts, I don't talk spin. Our second speaker is Dr. Jennifer Joyce from the Commonwealth Medical College, and she is here. Her specialty has always been healthcare and the financially disadvantaged. And she is talking about how the program, the ACA, is going to help people who don't qualify for Medicaid but can't afford private health insurance, how the provisions of the Act are going to help alleviate some of the problems with the economically disadvantaged.
Those would be an awful lot of the people that I represent, people that have lost the ability to earn wages because of a work injury.
Exactly. And the third speaker today is Suzanne Slusser from the Scranton Primary Healthcare Centre, and she is a navigator, and the Scranton Primary Healthcare Centre is an accredited agency where people can go to get help to enrol. Some people don't have computers. Some people have heard all of the horror stories about the website. Some people have heard other horror stories. We had a story this morning about someone who was told by an insurance company that the cap and cut-off point for subsidies on the Affordable Care Act was $19,000. And she said, no, it's up to $45,000 if you've got if you're an individual and for family incomes and things like that. And they said, oh, no. If you earn more than $19,000 a year, you're ineligible for a subsidy. Now that's fraud and that's a lie. So we really want to talk about how the Act's already working, talk about how it will work come the first of the year, and help debunk some of the scare tactics and myths. Because the biggest fear of the Republicans is not that the Affordable Care Act will fail. Their biggest fear is that it will succeed, because if it succeeds and it helps the people that it's designed to help, they are going to be on the wrong side of history.
It won't be the first time. Thank you, Ro. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for what
much.
you're doing, and I look forward to working with you.
Well, we do look forward to you too, to working with you too.
And thank you for being on You Be the Judge.
Thank you.
I'm Todd O'Malley with the law offices of O'Malley and Langen. If I say accident, what do you think? Car crash, falling down the steps, unexpected events. People don't realize most of these accidents aren't really accidents. They're injuries caused by careless third parties. So if you've been hurt at work, call O'Malley and Langen. 1-800-817-COMP. 1-800-817-2667.